Our next speaker is Marc Lurie. Marc formed Smart Pedal Labs after identifying pedal signal correction as an overlooked opportunity for greener, more efficient vehicles. In addition to co-developing the intellectual property and product line, Marc is responsible for sales and operation. Prior to Smart Pedal Labs, Marc founded At Hand, the company that pioneered mission-critical mobile computing, a category now regularly covered by industry analysts. At Hand was named one of the fastest-growing technology companies in America by Deloitte before its acquisition in 2016. In his third decade of entrepreneurship, Marc previously served in marketing and business development capacities at several high-growth startups, including iChat and Vignette. So with that, please welcome Marc to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So you guys are at the perfect focal length, not for me to be able to see everything. So I got to figure out, do I want to focus on this or out there? I'll do a bit of both. So probably very few of you have heard about Smart Pedal. We're a new technology, as Richard was saying. And in fact, City of Oakland has piloted us there, and we're going to share some results. But it's a whole new thing that we've also patented with the U.S. government. I think we're up to 4 patents now, and they keep growing. It's a snap-fit solution that installs in most vehicles, electric, hybrid, or natural gas, whatever, in about 1 or 2 minutes. This is an actual Smart Pedal unit. You see that it's about the size of an iPhone charger. And the total installation time is, again, about 2 minutes. Simply, the connector comes off the top of the accelerator pedal. The device pops on top. You can't hear it out there, but there's a slight click, and then the connector goes back on, and that's the entire installation process. And for that reason, a lot of our customers don't even include service cost to install it as part of it. But what does it do? It's a new technology that does pedal signal correction. And once Smart Pedal is installed, it notices the motion of the vehicle. The front and rear wheels are constantly going up and down as the vehicle travels forward. That causes the vehicle to change elevation about 2 or 3 times a second, which in turn causes the driver's foot to change pressure on the accelerator pedal, constantly changing the power demanded of the engine. Well, we found that by identifying that up and down motion and monitoring the electrical signal off the pedal, we could figure out what needed to be changed there to correct that signal to eliminate the unwanted changes in power. And the results were pretty significant. When we first started testing, it was 2 or 3%. Now it's really common to get 5 to 10%. And those aren't best case numbers. We get numbers better than that sometimes, but usually not less than 4% these days. Another thing to point out about this is there's no driver training involved. This is just about the vehicle operating from the driver's perspective exactly the same that it did before. There's just a new technology in there to improve mileage. So there's no tracking you need to do or anything like that. I just showed you the installation process. That's the installation manual right there on the screen. I think we get about 1 support call every 6 months. It's really ridiculous. And part of that is because we focus on fleet operators. So you have trained mechanics, and we spend some time talking with them, but even that's about a 1-hour process. A few things. It's worthwhile to talk about what we don't do so that you don't accidentally lump us in with other technologies out there. We don't disable or circumvent anything that the OEMs do. So all the built-in safety mechanisms in a vehicle are still there. In fact, we add a few. We don't touch any of the pollution control systems. That's why some of the people that use us are actually the attorneys for the CARB, which we kind of like. We don't affect or void the vehicle warranty. You're not doing anything with the internals that you have to argue about with an OEM. Even if you're in the right, we don't want you to be in that situation. We don't drain the battery when the vehicle's off. It's just a very simple device that only operates when the vehicle's on. So let's get to the meat of the matter. Oakland, just really serendipitous that the show is here today. They tested us with 53 vehicles. 47 of those were Prius Cs, and 6 of those were Nissan Leafs. It was a 221-day test, which is a very long time for a test. 130,000 miles, that's combined miles from both sets of vehicles. 568 Phillips, as you see, and you can see the number of gallons for the Prius Cs. Here are the results. So those Prius Cs at Oakland, you'll notice the mileage a little bit lower. Those are their parking enforcement vehicles. So they start, stop quite a bit. It's a very tough duty cycle on a vehicle. But we were able to improve the mileage of those 5.6% over that 100+ thousand miles that they were tested. and on the Leafs, 10.3%. Oakland's, I'm saying this for the benefit of Alameda County here as well, Oakland's leaf mileage at the beginning of the test was very common number that we see at a lot of fleets of about 3.5, and we were able to boost that to 3.9. That means less time on the charge stations, and if and when they have enough electric vehicles, potentially fewer, reduced need for charging stations to support their fleet. These numbers also aren't really uncommon. The newest set of numbers we just got is from Snohomish Public Utility District in the state of Washington. They had 76 vehicles. You can read those numbers. I don't need to read those to you. But these are much more light and medium duty vehicles, start at Ford F-150 and go up to 450s. And also a lot of snow up there and a lot of hills. They're not doing many highway miles. They're really creeping around in the mountains. And these are the results up there. We're super happy with the Escape numbers, the Explorers, the F-250s, and the extended cab F-250s. The weighted average was 7.9%, and they were pretty excited and ended up deploying for their fleet. And again, the installation time for that 76 vehicles is probably 1 day, one technician. I mean, you can do about 10, 12 of these an hour pretty easily and have time for a donut or a bagel. It's actually true. Just so you know, we sometimes we did this at Oakland, Richard. We brought in 2 boxes of not for management. Management's not involved. But when the drivers brought in their vehicles, we'd flip a donut to them, and by the time they finished the donut, the installation was done. So that was the test. It was about a half a donut thing, and sometimes the drivers would say, "Could you maybe slow it down? I want another donut." This is Nevada County back here in California. These guys are the ones up on your way to Tahoe. Not everybody knows Nevada County, but it's one of my hometowns. And they had a slightly more diverse fleet. You'll see the C-Max is there, the Escapes. Smart Pedal seems to perform disproportionately well on hybrids, but 10% on electrics is nothing to sneeze about. And you can see how we did on all those vehicles there. These are actually the budget savings Nevada's purchased for their full fleet. The typical Smart Pedal payback's about 1 to 2 years. In their case, it turned out to be 19 months. But also, if you look at the total dollar investment there, in that box on the left side, that's really petty change. I mean, not to waste public funds, but there's usually plenty of scratch left over in a budget for $20,000, $30,000 for something that can do this kind of ROI. What I mean by that is it's not a make or break decision. It's a really simple thing to work with. One of the things we started focusing on with our customers is tracking and measuring the emissions reduction. So we do this by looking at what the original mileage was of the vehicle, what the new mileage is, and amortizing that or calculating that over a year. We're looking at right now, typically for a vehicle that we can save somewhere between 500 to 1,000 pounds of greenhouse gas equivalent over a year. And, that depends on how much use, but that's about 12 to 15,000 miles of usage. And that adds up to a lot. Now, I know a lot of you don't have formal mandates yet, but this is just a nice to have on top of there. Plus, we don't usually calculate it, but there are some soft savings as well in another way, which is reduced wear and tear on the powertrain if you're using 5 or 10% less fuel every year in that same vehicle. Here's the cost. That is, as far as we know, the least expensive, and until today, I was going to say probably the highest ROI in the entire industry. The hard payback is 1 to 2 years, as I mentioned, and you already know the rest on emissions. And the last thing I want to talk about safety. This is something that the industry doesn't talk about very much, but there's a lot of industry standards, all of which we not just meet but exceed. It is an extraordinarily well-designed device. In 10 years of the company, and we released the product 4 years, so we did 6 years of R&D before releasing it. We've never had a failed unit from the field ever. And no safety issues, even in our own testing before that. And we've been on test tracks with the OEMs. We've done, I don't know how many tens of millions of miles right now. But it's extraordinary safety. You can read some of the things right there. That's about it. If you're interested, please talk with us because it is a very low risk, high return opportunity for your fleets. You can snap fit it in a day and instantly reduce the fuel costs 5 or 10% or increase that EV range. Thank you very much. And we'll take questions at the end, right? Sorry, Richard. I got to say one thing. Joey Williams back there, raise your hand, Joey. Joey's the first guy to deploy us in the Bay Area, and I really want to thank him for taking the risk for us. Not everybody does that, but he saw us and was willing to give us a chance, and Richard supported him in doing that. Thank you both so much.